let's talk numbers. And let's talk some numbers along the lines of where we could end up at the end of the year. For instance, the Tampa Bay Lightning are currently on pace for 124 points this year. It would be an excellent season. And then immediately people say, haha, President's Trophy, it's cursed. Of course, we'll see, right? But for the Lightning right now, they're on pace for 124 points. And a lot of that is without their starting goaltender. Meanwhile, the Blackhawks and the Kings are both on pace for 63 points. A little bit below, but since I rounded up, if it was above 0.5, I rounded them up to 63. And that's interesting. So 3 Stanley Cups, 2 Stanley Cups, and this is one of those ebbs and flows that happens. And it's funny because people always say, "Oh, well, you know, it's you just tear it all down." You don't have to tear it all down and do a rebuild. The standings do that for you, and your players get older. And in some cases, it might be management. And I know Lombardi got fired out of LA, but LA doesn't look a whole lot better than when he was there. I know there's Chicago fans talking about get rid of Stan Bowman. You have to have somebody to replace him with, though. And I don't know that I'd put a lot on Bowman. Yes, Hinostroza's had a solid season for Arizona. And it looks like Nick Schmaltz is better off in Arizona than was in Chicago. But you have to look at the moves as a whole. And yeah, eventually I guess I can do another video on... I think I've already done a video on Stan Bowman, but I can do another one if I have to. Mikko Rantanen's on pace for 131 points this year. And what's interesting about it is we're so busy talking about him. McDavid's on pace for 117, and we're talking about how much slower his scoring stats have been since Ken Hitchcock took over, and yet he's still on pace for 117 points. That's insane. But it wouldn't even get him close to the scoring title this year if scoring stays on this pace. Mitch Marner's on pace for 93 assists. Those are Joe Thornton numbers. Those are insane numbers. Those are, I would like a Brinks truck backed up to my house kind of numbers when he's a restricted free agent next summer. So if he gets 90-plus assists, that's a lot. Those are Adam Oates numbers. And from a guy who's not even playing center, it's insane. I normally see that with centers like Henrik Sedin, Joe Thornton, Adam Oates. Yeah, it's normally with the centers, right? Or defensemen like Bobby Orr or Paul Coffey back in the day. Alex Ovechkin's on pace for 62 goals. Yeah, he won't catch Gretzky. 62 goals at age 33. All right. Patrick Laine, 61 goals. What's more impressive than the 61 goals is he's on pace for 70 points and 29 power play goals. 29 of those 61 would be power play goals at the current rate. And I'm sure there are Jets fans saying, are you sure it's not 50? Because it feels like it should be 50 of those would be power play goals. His 5-on-5, I don't know. Anyways, the 70 points, if he ends up with 61 goals and 9 assists, we'd have to make up some kind of a Patrick Laine award. Some kind of a me first award or some kind of, no, I got it. No, I got it. I'm not passing it. I got it. So, yeah, 70 points for him and 61 goals would be insane. Brad Marchand, 203 penalty minutes. Keep in mind, Marchand doesn't fight a lot. So the fact that he would lead the league in penalty minutes with over 200, a lot of those are going to be 2-minute minors. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And Marchand does get penalized for everything. And I know there are fans who want to see him get suspended, but he hasn't been crossing that line yet this season. And 203 penalty minutes is a lot. William Carrier, Vegas Golden Knights, is on pace for 420 hits. I didn't just make up that number for a giggle. You can go take a look and do the math yourself if you need to. 420 hits for Carrier this year if he keeps up this pace. And I said last year in the playoffs, I really picked up on Carrier last year in the playoffs, and I was like, this kid hits everything that moves. And what's amazing with Carrier is, when was the last time you heard about a William Carrier hit that should be suspendable? Well, he should probably get suspended for that. There's been nothing this year that I can remember. They're hit. They're clean. They're clean hits. They're open ice. He goes through. He follows through the hit. This is why when people say, "Oh, you know, the NHL doesn't like hitting anymore," Carrier does it right. Whatever Carrier's doing, other players that get suspended or maybe they're wondering what's a legal hit anymore, just load up some Carrier hits. Those apparently are good. Marc-Andre Fleury is on pace for 71 starts this year. Notice I said starts. This doesn't include games where he may have to come in relief if his backup isn't playing particularly well. That's too many. That's too many for almost any goaltender these days. 71 starts is a lot. And the odds of there being perhaps fatigue leading to injury, that could be there. I know there were times with Luongo in Vancouver where he'd have a groin injury, and I think, that's probably just from overplaying. He's probably playing too much and overextending on shots, and then that happens. Now, getting back to teams, I'm going to bounce back and forth a couple of times here. The Tampa Bay Lightning are on pace for 322 goals for and 232 goals against. Yeah, there's a reason I'm wearing Tampa. It's impressive as hell. And as much as we want to talk about other teams and all the chances everybody has, this Tampa Bay Lightning team would have dominated in the 80s, the 90s, and now present day. This is a team that has offense, defense, goaltending. Everything is there. And they can score in bunches. 322 goals. I'm thinking that's the first time a team scored 320 in a while. I didn't do the research on that part, but goal scoring is up this year. So if you feel like goal scoring's up, and every now and then I get a question about that, it is absolutely up. 180 goals for the Kings. That's 142 less for Tampa on their current trajectories. The Kings have shown some signs lately. They had the 5-goal game against Vegas, but they will usually follow that up by being shut out. I don't know what to make of the Kings right now, but I know they don't look like a playoff team. And the Bruins have the most penalty minutes per game in the league at 12.4. And almost all of those seem to be Marchand. So you got to think of it this way. They're on pace for 1,017 this year. Marchand's on pace for 203. He makes up 3 penalty minutes a game. So if not for Marchand, if he wasn't in the lineup, the Bruins would be below 10 penalty minutes per game. And they have the most penalty minutes in the league right now. We are at a stage now where the goals are in the game, the penalty minutes are kind of gone. And that's how the league is trending. 12.4 penalty minutes a game. If you put that up, say in 2002 or 2003, you'd get all kinds of questions about how soft your lineup is and what's going on. And wow, really not taking any penalties. This is part of the reason why I stopped tracking special teams when I do previews and reviews, because they don't matter. I've seen very, very few games where I say, oh, that game hinged, was really turned on that penalty killer, that power play. Because 9 times out of 10, the special teams don't really mean anything. Even 5-minute power plays. 5-minute power plays used to be death. Now it's like, it's a 5-minute power play. And you get into your box and you figure out exactly your plan. And because teams practice their special teams so much and they don't have to worry about doing it a whole lot, those 5-minute power plays aren't as lethal as they used to be. Even 5-on-3s don't seem to be as lethal as they once were. And yet the goals are up. Defensemen, let's switch back to players again. Chabot's on pace for 90 points. That's insanity. John Carlson in Washington says, damn it, when he sees Chabot on pace for 90. Chabot, though, and I've already seen some comments or a couple articles on whether or not Chabot is worthy of Norris consideration. I'm in the no camp for right now. But you never know how it's going to end up by the end of the year, and I only say that because the offense is there. On the defensive side, I don't know that I'd say he's the best in the league, right? Carlson, this may be his year at 88 points, but being overshadowed a little bit by Chabot, and just the fact that he plays with this Ovechkin guy who's pretty good, and they're defending Stanley Cup champions. It's easy to kind of forget about Carlson. You're so busy talking about Backstrom, and of course that Kosh Sarnett, Tom Wilson, and all that. It's easy to forget about Carlson on the point, but he's lethal. Morgan Riley is still on pace for 87 points. So his points have dropped off since that insane start to the season, but he's still on pace for 87. That's not bad. That's not a bad total to have. Most defensemen will take that. And the fact that in this day and age we have 3 guys on pace for more than 85 points as defensemen. There were, I think, 3 other defensemen I saw that had at least a point a game as well. So yes, Mark Giordano's in this list as well. It's been a crazy season for defensemen for scoring as well. Especially considering power plays now consist usually of 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. It used to be 3 forwards, 2 defensemen. I still personally prefer to have 2 offensive defensemen. I look at the rise in shorthanded goals, and I attribute that to the fact that you have a forward on the point playing defense. And as soon as the other team touches the puck, a lot of those forwards aren't adept at playing the defensive side of it. But if you're thinking league's scoring is up, you're right. The goals per team average. So this is per team averaged over the whole league this year, and this comes from hockeyreference.com. This year we are at 3.08. That is not a number that we normally see anymore. Last year was 2.97. The year before it was 2.77. For the record, it was 2.71 the year before that. So the scoring has gradually gone up to the point where we've added a half a goal per game from where we were 3 years ago. And 2001, 2002 was the lowest it got during the dead puck era, 2.62. So we were seeing at least a goal less per game back in 2001, 2002, 17 seasons ago than what we're seeing now. So if you feel like there's more goals being scored, you're right. And if you feel like there's more goals being scored, even now that defense is supposed to be getting tighter, you're right. There seems to be a lot of goals going in. And with the way the NHL is with goalie equipment, and word that next year they're going to make further adjustments with goalie equipment, these numbers may go up further. And the only thing I'll say about that in closing is this. What they're trying to do is make sure that the goaltender himself makes the save and not his equipment. And I kind of understand that, because when people talk about how crappy goaltenders were back in the 80s, well, they were 5'8", 5'9", and you look at their pads, yeah. And the other thing, too, and I have to get through the goalie issue and talk about this, is they're talking about the death of the butterfly goaltending style altogether, which is weird, because I've got magazines from the early 2000s, late 90s that talk about how butterfly goaltending revolutionized the game, and it was taking stand-ups out completely. So goaltending continues to evolve, but so does goal scoring. So we're finally starting to see that, and I like it. I do. I like seeing players get 120, 130 points. I think that's great. I think it's great for the league. I think it's great for excitement, because when you look back on the eras people love and the players people love, whether it's Gordie Howe, there's a lot of scoring during his era. Bobby Orr, tons of scoring during his era, and Gretzky, same thing. So there's definitely something to be said for that. And then you look at the era we've come through, and there seems to be less gloss on it, probably because some of these offensive players who could have scored like this were restricted to 80, 75 points in that clutch and grab slow game that was being played back then. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.